Today we are tackling one of the most critical and frequently tested compliance topics on the Series 65 exam: the books and records requirements for investment advisors. Regulators view proper record keeping as the backbone of enforcement and investor protection, so the exam will hit this hard. The core of this topic is the 5-year retention rule. For the Series 65, you must know that nearly all required records must be kept for a minimum of 5 years. A crucial detail and a common exam trap is the accessibility requirement within that 5-year period. For the first 2 years, these records must be maintained in the principal office of the investment advisor, meaning they must be immediately accessible. For the remaining 3 years, they can be stored off-site in an easily accessible location. The exam will test this with scenarios where a regulator shows up for a surprise inspection. You must be able to produce the last 2 years of records almost instantly. Another major trap is the fiscal year nuance. The 5-year clock doesn't start on the date the record is created. It starts at the end of the fiscal year in which the record was made. For example, if a firm with a December 31st fiscal year end creates a record in January of 2025, the 5-year retention period begins on December 31st, 2025. This means the record is actually kept for almost 6 years. The exam loves to test this detail to catch you off guard. So what records are we talking about? The list is extensive, but for the exam, focus on the big ones. Financial records like journals, ledgers, and bank statements, which regulators use to assess the firm's solvency. They also want to see all client advisory agreements, which must be in writing. An oral agreement is not sufficient. You must also keep records of every transaction in a client's account, including the order memorandum detailing who recommended the trade and who placed the order. Communications are another huge area. This includes originals of all written communications received and copies of all sent relating to investment advice. The exam often presents scenarios involving modern communication. A text message or a social media direct message giving investment advice must be captured and retained for 5 years. The medium doesn't matter, the content does. Advertising records are a classic trap. It's not enough to just keep a copy of the advertisement. You must also retain the backup data and calculations used to support any performance claims. If an ad from 4 years ago claims a 12% return, you must be able to produce the spreadsheet that proves it. Failure to do so is a violation, even if the return was accurate. When it comes to electronic storage, the exam will expect you to know the term WORM, which stands for Write Once, Read Many. This means electronic records must be stored in a non-rewritable, non-erasable format to ensure data integrity. Saving files to a standard USB drive or a personal cloud storage account that allows for alteration is a violation. The SEC must be confident that the records haven't been altered after the fact. One of the most important concepts to grasp is that a failure to maintain required records is a violation in and of itself. An exam question might describe a scenario where a client received perfect advice and made a lot of money, but the advisor failed to document the suitability analysis. Even with a happy client and no financial harm, the advisor has committed a punishable offense. The cover-up is often worse than the crime, and in record keeping, the absence of a record is seen as a potential cover-up. To help you remember the core retention rule, use this phrase: keep it 5 with 2 close by. This reinforces the 5-year total retention period and the 2-year on-site accessibility requirement. For free practice questions, AI-powered explanations, and more exam prep tools, visit openexamprep.com. That's openexamprep, all one word, .com.